हेलो बच्चों, स्वागत है आप सभी का आपके अपने YouTube चैनल कैमगुरु एकेडमी में। तो पिछली क्लास में अपने बात की थी ह्यूमस की प्रॉपर्टीज के बारे में और उसके इफेक्ट के बारे में। आज अपना जो टॉपिक है वो है कार्बन नाइट्रोजन रेशियो। टॉपिक कौन सा है? कार्बन नाइट्रोजन रेशियो। सो व्हाट इज द कार्बन नाइट्रोजन रेशियो? इज द नेम सजेस्ट, इट इज द रेशियो ऑफ अमाउंट ऑफ कार्बन एंड नाइट्रोजन इन अ पर्टिकुलर soil. So what is the carbon nitrogen ratio? Carbon nitrogen ratio is the quantity of quantity of carbon in the form of carbon dioxide in soil divided by quantity of nitrogen in soil. That is the carbon nitrogen ratio. As you know, carbon will be in the form of carbon dioxide, so the formula will be quantity of carbon dioxide in soil and quantity of carbon nitrogen ratio in soil. That is known as the carbon nitrogen ratio, or you can simply say the ratio of carbon and nitrogen in a particular soil is known as carbon nitrogen ratio. That's the definition. So now let's move to the its some properties or importance. So the carbon nitrogen ratio for different type of species are like different. For example, for a fertile soil, for a fertile soil, the carbon nitrogen ratio ranges from carbon nitrogen ratio ranges from 8:1 to 15:1. 8 ratio 1 to 15 ratio 1. And one more thing, that if carbon increases or nitrogen decreases, then it will increase the carbon nitrogen ratio. If carbon increases or nitrogen decreases, it will increase the carbon nitrogen ratio. And if carbon decreases or nitrogen increases, then carbon nitrogen ratio will decrease. Keep in mind that it is very important to note this, that the carbon nitrogen ratio depends on the quantity of carbon and nitrogen. If let's say carbon is increasing, then carbon nitrogen ratio will increase. Or let's say if carbon is decreasing, then carbon nitrogen ratio will decrease. And if nitrogen is decreasing, then also carbon nitrogen ratio will decrease. So that's the point you should take the note. So now let's move on to the carbon nitrogen ratio of various type of compounds or species. So for a fertile soil, the range of carbon nitrogen ratio is 10 ratio 1 to 15 ratio 1, and the average is from 10:1 to 12:1. That is the average for a fertile soil. That should be the ratio of carbon nitrogen ratio. And keep in mind that carbon nitrogen ratio is less in dry soil or soil of dry regions. It's important to note here that carbon nitrogen ratio in dry area soil less is less. Why? Because the activity of microorganism will be less, so will be the carbon nitrogen ratio. And in damp region it will be more, as you can guess. The second one, the carbon nitrogen ratio comes is of, we can say, cow dung manure or farmyard manure or cow dung manure. That is from 20 ratio 1 to 30 ratio 1. And if we talk about farm waste or straw, we can say the farm waste, the crop waste, that is from like 100 ratio 1. It is the highest amount of carbon. Now let's move to microorganism. The carbon nitrogen ratio of microorganism ranges from 4 ratio 1 to 9 ratio 1, depending on the type of microorganism. And and if we talk about next, the carbon nitrogen ratio of fungi is like 10:1, and it is also the carbon nitrogen ratio of humus. Humus has also carbon nitrogen ratio of 10:1. So this is the carbon nitrogen ratio. And if we talk about some of its properties, it's like when we add organic matter in the soil, the microorganism decomposes the organic matter very quickly, and due to this the quantity of carbon increases, so the carbon nitrogen ratio also increases. And if this process continues for a long period, we see that there is deficiency of nitrogen. So at this point a microorganism starts decomposing other organic matter which have higher quantity of nutrition. Due to this, now nitrogen will increase and the carbon nitrogen ratio will decrease. So you can read it in the book as well, it is written there. Now there is the importance of carbon nitrogen ratio. Importance of carbon nitrogen ratio. Now what is the importance? If a soil has higher carbon nitrogen ratio, then microorganism will have microorganism organism will be in higher number and higher activity, so the organic carbon will also increase. The second one is quantity of nutrient. Quantity of nutrients. If a soil has higher carbon nitrogen ratio, the quantity of nutrient will also increase. So this is it for the carbon nitrogen ratio. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, do like and subscribe the channel, and it also share with your friends. And if you want to download this PDF, you can download from our Telegram channel. The link is given in the description. So this is for it. Now let's catch up in the next class. See you soon. Thank you for watching and keep studying.